Okay, thank you everyone for joining us and dealing with our technical difficulties, getting everyone settled here. Jeremiah, thank you for being here, our co-host, and Rachel, our special guest. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about you and your background? So if they don't know who you are, we can kind of give them some history here.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Russo, and I am a matchmaker and dating and relationship coach in New York City. I have been doing this crazy stuff that I do for the last 11 years. And I'm also a writer. I write about relationships and breakups and all stages of love. A lot of my influence comes from my education. I have a master's in marriage and family therapy, so I love to go deep and find out what's really going on in people's lives and relationships. And in addition to writing, I also speak. I train the competition, which people say, but I'm a professor of education with Matchmaking Institute, and I am currently teaching an online course that I developed helping other entrepreneurs learn how to be matchmakers. But I
love it.
Saying it a lot. I've been living, breathing, eating, and sleeping matchmaking and dating. So I'm excited to be part of this, and this topic really is home for me, and I know a lot of other people as well.
Absolutely. Well, I say we jump right into it. And thank you again so much for being here. I think that this is like a really fun platform. And once you get past the getting everyone together on the site here, it's all good. And I do want to let everyone know, if you want to join in the conversation, you can just click in the call-in box, and you'll have to either be signed in with either your Facebook or your Twitter, and we can accept you on video, or you can make comments in the columns on the right-hand side. So with that being said, Rachel, how does someone find love again?
Oh, they put down the phone. The phone is ringing there.
Turn that one off.
You know what? It's really about that. You have to be in the moment. You have to be where you are. And that means you can't be living in the past. And you can't be too anxious about the future, what it looks like. You know, are we progressing? Are we doing things properly? You know, people have all these rules in their head about how things should look like, or a first date or a second date or 2 months of dating. Are we meeting the parents, this and that? My thing is that we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. We should be where we are and be present and understand where the person is at, and just kind of let the relationship unfold organically.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. So I know we went through our 10 bullet points that we decided we were going to cover this evening. And since this is one of your favorite topics, I'm just going to let you run with a little bit of it and just kind of jump in here and there. And if Jeremiah wants to jump in with the male point of view, that would be lovely as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So as far as our bullet points are concerned, what really hits home with you? What do you have the hardest time explaining to people?
Explaining to people how they should actually get over their ex when they are in love with the person, and unfortunately the relationship is not going to work out. I think that I personally, and other people as well, have a hard time understanding, like, I love this person. I want to make this work. Like, why can't we be together? It's even harder when the other person actually loves you too, but there's something that's preventing it because you're not compatible, or there's lifestyle differences, or, you know, just something that you can't get past. So just teaching people how they can move on when they feel that they're not even ready to because they're so tied to someone else. That's something that's really difficult to wrap your head around, that I think a lot of people, no matter how old they are or what their race, ethnicity, I think we all struggle with this idea of moving past heartbreak.
Right. Now, as far as someone who's, let's say, still involved in that relationship, is it more about working on it, do you say, or giving up? I mean, that's a really hard line to draw in the sand.
It's a fine line. You know, when do you give up? I mean, love is not always something that is rational. So you can intellectually understand, maybe it's best that I move on. If I stay here, I'm probably going to get hurt because 9 out of 10 bets are that this relationship is going to fail because of X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
But if the heart is involved, you look at the 9 out of 10 and you say, wow, love is hopeful. I got that one chance there. Even if it's a 1% chance, can I make it work? Do I keep going? when do I stop? Because when I'm absolutely convinced that there's no hope, when I've tried everything, when I put myself out there, maybe if you feel you tried everything to make it work and it's still not working, that's the point that you have to say, okay, I have to give up. I have to let this go. I can still love this person like from afar, but I have to stop trying because I'm not, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and I'm not getting results no matter what I'm doing. That's
you know, it's a position I have seen several people in, especially doing the relationship coaching and divorce recovery. It's very difficult for them to go from one aspect of it to the next. And so I think it's important to understand that, you know, that decision ultimately has to be made by the person. But however, in our field, we have to guide them in the right direction. And sometimes that's really their call, not as much ours.
Sure, I think it's their call. And as a coach or a therapist or even as a friend, sometimes you have to let the person go through the process and be there for them, even though it's painful, even though you know and you want to say, I told you so, I told you so. Like, don't say that because you don't know what it's like to be in their shoes. I mean, everyone can relate if they've been in love or had unrequited love or whatever, but you don't know exactly how they're feeling. So they're going to make their mistakes and we can only tell them what we think is best, but ultimately they're going to go with their gut or what they want. And we just have to support them however we could.
Yep, I agree. Now, this ties directly into one of the other bullet points we had listed out, which is how do you know when it's time to start dating again?
A lot of people don't even feel ready to start dating, but their friends are telling them, come on, they're trying to introduce them to people, they're encouraging them to download a mobile dating app, anything, get out of the house, get out of your bed. You know, we think about the movies, the quintessential kind of scene where someone goes through a breakup and they're just like depressed on the couch and there's ice cream cartons all over. There's a point where you wallow in your pity, but then society starts to think enough is enough. How long is it? You know, it varies case by case. If you spent years and years with someone, your whole life has to start over. It's like such a loss, like a death. It's so traumatic. So I think you can't really say when is the general rule of thumb when you should be ready. But I will say that sometimes it's okay to move forward before you even feel ready. And that sometimes you have to just dive right in and start dating again and be strong and kind of fake it till you make it. And then maybe you'll actually be more ready than you think, you know, if you meet someone that you like and you connect with. You might not be able to imagine even having feelings for someone, but you might surprise yourself if you meet the right person.
Exactly. And I think a really good point to add into that is just because you start to date does not necessarily mean you're going to end up in a relationship. You know, everyone has those fears of rebound relationships and what if I'm not ready? But sometimes it's just like you said, it's about getting your feet wet and putting yourself back out there and finding out what your emotions truly are.
Totally. And I think that as long as you don't mislead the person that you're dating and act as if you're ready for something so serious, then it's okay because you could be where you're at and just kind of experience it, as we were saying before. And I believe that every little relationship, whether it even lasts for a couple weeks or a month, it's there to teach you something and perhaps get you more ready for the next one. That's your more long-term relationship.
Right. And I mean, that goes back, Rachel. I'm not sure if you had a chance to watch the replay of the last one that we did, but it was about intentions. And so what you were saying goes hand in hand with our last All Things Dating event, which was basically defining your intentions and letting them be known. So that goes really hand in hand because you don't want to put yourself back in that dating situation without your clear intentions.
Nice. Absolutely.
Jeremiah, do you want to add anything to this? I know this is all stuff that's close to your heart as well.
First off, I have to say, Rachel, I spent about 2 hours last night reading all your blogs and some great insight, great information. I wish more people had that kind of insight. If they did, they'd probably be a lot further along than where they are. Yeah, I totally agree with just getting over the ex thing. I think a big part of it is, like you said, how long you've been in the relationship. I went through a situation where I was with a girl for 6 years, and I mean, 6 years time, you do life together and you develop like almost a routine, of things that you end up doing together. And, you have to kind of shift and change everything. It's almost like re-identifying yourself. And depending on how long that takes and how smoothly you're able to recover, I think is a big part of that process. So far as dating, when you don't think you're ready, I think that that's okay as long as you're not bringing in the damage and the hurt from the last relationship into your dating game and into the next possible relationship.
That's a really good point. I think that people need to learn their lessons from the past relationship and not kind of project those issues onto the next person that they're dating.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of times, someone's actions can resemble the actions of someone in the past, but have different intentions. But because of your past experiences, you're automatically going to assume that that person has the same intentions, and so it's putting this unknown weight and pressure on them without them even knowing about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have been guilty of that because it looks and feels exactly the same as it was in the past. So chances are you're assuming, it's going to be the same situation again, but you have to realize it's a completely different person.
And one of the things that I coach my clients with as well, Rachel, is that it's okay to hold on to the lessons, but it's a matter of getting acceptance with the emotions, taking the emotions and filing them way back here in the back of your head, but keeping the lessons up front.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too, Jeremiah, I totally agree with, is the fact that you are coming out of a relationship and you're no longer a couple. And so a lot of divorce recovery clients that I have worked with is really, it's a matter of changing the perception to where it's not such a scary thing, but it's actually a good thing, because now you have this wonderful opportunity to define yourself with a blank slate. And so instead of being scared of that redefinition process, you can look at it as if you do have a blank slate and, okay, so I'm not somebody's wife, I'm not somebody's husband. I'm me. Who do I want to be and what are my goals? And like you said, Rachel, living in the present in that moment, that's somewhere to start.
Yes. It's really a new opportunity that you're describing. They can start all over again and find out who they are. And the problem that a lot of people run into is when their whole identity is tied to that relationship. And then it's really a loss because they don't know who they are or what to do with themselves. That's why I'm sure we'd all agree, before you get into a serious relationship like that, ideally, you have a strong sense of self, that you're separate and you're coming in with your strengths and, together you're more powerful together in a healthy relationship, but you can still stand alone. The people who can't stand alone, those are the ones that are really, really devastated by the breakups for a long time.
Yeah. And what do you tell people, Rachel, as far as starting over and what that process is? I know each person is different and it's a different time frame for each person. But what are the steps? What would you give us as far as the steps to get ready?
Sure. Well, I think it's a lot about taking care of yourself, really. It's self-love in a sense. You've gone through this traumatic breakup, let's say, and now you just have to get back to the basics to make yourself even dateable again. A lot of times we gain weight when we're a couple, right? So now's the perfect time to go to the gym and get into the shape of your life. And maybe you even need to buy new clothes, because I know that I have my date outfit. And when I break up with an ex, I'm like, I look at that, I'm like, oh no, I wore that on that team. Valentine's Day. I'm going to get rid of those clothes. Definitely. All that stuff, like kind of purge the environment.
Absolutely.
Things that remind you. I mean, there's some gifts that we ladies don't want to part with. But if you have expensive jewelry, you can always go to a pawn shop. There's ways that you have to be out of sight, out of mind. And I also really believe in disconnecting on social media, because that is something that keeps people totally stuck. So if you're ready for a new relationship, you should not have pictures with your ex all over your Facebook. It's disrespectful to your new partner, and it just portrays the image that you're not ready to move on. So I'd say to clean up the social media, I would go through the phone and delete photos, and you can save things on a flash drive, maybe look at them at another time, but physically remove things that remind you of your ex, and also change up your routines, and maybe need to start going to different places, especially if you have mutual friends. there has to be, in my opinion, a period of no contact. And a lot of people think this is something that, oh, you can't do it, but you could. It's super hard, but you really have to get the idea of the romantic relationship with your ex out of your mind. The best way to do that is to stop the communication for a period of time. I think at least 30 days, you can hopefully, if this is someone you really care about or love or have a child with or something like that, you want to get back to having a friendship or a co-parenting relationship, or just being like cool and neutral and like not hating your ex, like just feeling like okay about it. But it takes time to get there. So I really suggest that no contact policy, purging everything before you go out into the world and even thinking about how you're going to date again.
And I think I agree with you 100% with the 30 days, Rachel. I've actually used that with several people. And one of the challenges I always hear is, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. Well, if you can't go 30 days without talking to that person, you're definitely not ready to move forward. And so using that as a gauge is very useful.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I have to recommend something, actually. Of course, I could recommend my book, but we all know the link is there. I wrote a book about getting over an ex, but what I'm going to recommend is a website called exaholics.com. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but if there's someone listening that cannot go 30 days without talking to an ex, and I'm not judging you, because believe me, I've been there. You don't write books about it if you haven't been there. So I think that you should check this out, because it's a very supportive community of other people, and there's a forum, and you communicate, and you actually go through steps as if it was like you have any other type of addiction, like AA. And this is something that if you don't have the willpower to block your ex or not text your ex, this is a support system you should turn to.
Yeah.
I love it. If you would, Rachel, maybe type that in the comments so people can check out a link. That would be appreciated.
Okay,
I agree that, you know, that 30-day separation, if you're not ready to go through that process on your own, starting to date at that point probably isn't in anyone's best interest. And so it's more about focusing on yourself, redefining yourself, giving yourself time to heal, learn from the lessons, and really just get yourself prepared for the next step.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that next step, I guess this is all part of your question, and I want to properly answer it. So the lessons, I think that when you come out of a relationship and you have some time to sort of detox of your ex, you could start thinking about, yes, the positive things that you liked about your ex. You don't want to focus on that too much, though, when you're trying to get over an ex. But maybe think of 2 or 3 positive things that you would, again, like in your next relationship. And then most importantly, think of 3 or 4 or more, or many, many more negative things about your ex and about the dynamic, the things that were making you unhappy. And I tell my coaching clients to literally make a list and carry that list around with them all the time, especially when they feel like contacting their ex.
Exactly.
And these are the things that you would never want to get. So when you start getting out into the dating world, you have to know what your preferences are, what your must-have traits are, and what those deal breakers are. And the first rule would be to avoid anything that is going to be the same dynamic as your ex. And I would really suggest that people know what they want before they start dating, because if you go out there, and we all are doing mobile dating and internet dating these days, it's so becoming the norm, or even going to matchmakers, you have to have a strong sense of what you want, or you're just going to get lost in like that sea, and you're going to just go with whatever comes at you, and it may not be the best thing. So go in and be proactive, and you'll get a better result if you know what you want, and make that clear on your profiles and everything else.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things we were going to talk about too, Rachel, is preparing for online dating, or preparing to go and see a matchmaker. You know, that for a lot of people is a really, really big step. So what do you recommend they do to get to that point, or the things that they do to prepare to go see a matchmaker or even a dating coach, anything that we do? Okay,
so first things first, as I said, the appearance is very important, because we have to be our best self, and physically and within as well. So I would tell people to get some good photos of themselves, because matchmakers are going to need them. You're going to need them for online dating sites, for everything. So we all know what good photos are and bad photos are. Sometimes we don't, and we get these weird selfies and unflattering images. But I would just recommend that people take recent photos, where they look their best and they look how they would be when they're going on a date, and they properly represent themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So after you have that, and you can do that with a couple of friends or just on your own phone or digital camera, or you can get professionals, whatever is required. If you're going to a matchmaker, kind of use the images that they want. Sometimes they want images that are action shots that are showing you off, maybe playing tennis or on a beach. And they want headshots or casual shots. So really put some thought into preparing kind of a portfolio photos, if you will. And then you're going to be asked in any of these mediums to write something about yourself or to fill out some type of questionnaire. And this is where you have to know about you and you have to know about the match that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that people should put some thought into the descriptions of themselves and try not to make them sound super generic, because the biggest thing I think with the online especially is that everyone sort of sounds the same, and people are just so overwhelmed by all the options that they want to know when they're looking at your profile, like, what is it about you that stands out? Why should they go out with you as opposed to all the dozens of other people that are just a swipe away? So, really be able to describe yourself well. If you don't know, ask your friends, ask your family, share little stories. Don't just make like a string of boring adjectives and say like you love to go to movies and drink wine. Make it sound be more specific. What type of wine do you drink? What movies do you go to? And it will bring your profile to life. And if you know yourself and all those things, it will really help a matchmaker as well, because the matchmaker's job is really to sell you and be your publicist almost, and get people like excited to go out with you. You have to be an exciting person. Like, actually, this part you should not fake it till you make it. I mean, you can be simple on like the simple things, but what's unique about you? What excites you? What are you passionate about? You have to be able to communicate that either to your matches or the matchmaker so that you can attract someone who's right for you.
Now, I just threw a link over in the comments, Rachel. It's for basically anyone who is going through this process. And it's a link to one of the pages on my website, which offers free personality assessments. Now, I use that as a tool in my matchmaking process, but you can also use that, number one, to get to know yourself, to figure out what your likes and dislikes are, to figure out how to create your profile, to figure out how to describe yourself. A lot of figuring out what goes next is to know who you are. And so with all of these tools, basically with personality assessments, you can really take the time to get to know deeply and fully who you are and how you want to become. So that's just a link there. It's free for anyone. It's the 5 love languages, the big 5, your relationship attachment style, the whole 9 yards.
Okay. You're giving me all kinds of ideas, Denise. Okay, so I wrote prior to How You Fascinate. It's by Sally Hogshead. I think it's howyoufascinate.com, but you guys can just Google that.
Mm-hmm.
It's another personality assessment. It's really, really good and unique. And the other one, I don't know if you know about this. I always talk about this guy. His name is Dr. Amir Levine, and he wrote a book called Attached. And he actually spoke at our Matchmaking Institute conference last year. And he talks about the 3 attachment styles, like avoidant, secure, and anxious.
Right.
And it really is a great book, and it has quizzes in it so you can figure out yours and also your partners or, your future partners, your ex, whoever, so you can understand more about your past and what you want in the future. It really has changed you a lot. I don't want to date people with like an avoidant attachment style after reading this book. But the thing is that we can all become more normal, and there's tips in the book that if you are like anxious or avoidant, there's ways that you can become more secure and be happier with anyone, with any attachment. So I definitely recommend that too.
Absolutely. I'll have to Google that and put that on my list of assessments. That sounds exactly along the lines of what we do. Yeah. So using all of these tools and figuring out who you want to become, because I believe that that's part of the clarity in the process. What do you suggest they do next? What is the actual jumping into the deep end?
Well, I think it looks different for different people. And this is where like having a coach could really come in, because they have to bring out what it is that's most important. It's almost like we say like branding. This is personal branding for their love life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give an example. Say someone is really into fitness. That's great. But what happens is a lot of people go to the gym with like headphones in and they do their workout and they don't even talk to anyone. They're not meeting anyone at the gym. But there's all different ways that they can utilize the simple fact that they are into health and fitness to find a new partner that's better for them. And maybe it's a matter of trying different classes. We have something called ClassPass in New York where I don't know if this is national, but you can go to like any gyms and yoga classes or Zumba. Or, there's so many different ways that you can actually meet people. And you can do meetup.com groups that relate to fitness, or you can go to certain parks, or maybe you join fitnesssingles.com. So whatever your interest is, there's probably a whole array of activities and sites, online, offline, and ways that you can meet people and ways that you can kind of market yourself, so to speak, so that you would appeal to someone who's also into fitness. Maybe that's with your photos or what you write. So I think people need to look at that. Like, what are their values? What do they want for their lifestyle? If that is really important to attract someone who's into health and fitness, then instead of going out drinking to bars till 2 a.m., they should try something different. Maybe get up early on a Sunday and go to a marathon. Whether they're participating in that or not, they need to find like-minded people. Mm-hmm. So I believe that they need to come up with a strategy for what they can do, utilizing their strengths, their weaknesses, and just thinking about opportunities that they have to meet the kind of people that they want.
Well, and it really boils down to, like you said, creating your own personal brand. And I think that sometimes it's hard for us to understand that we are not the same person that somebody views us as. And, if you're looking for a specific type of person, are you marketing yourself towards your specific target market audience? And this is a conversation Jeremiah and I have had several times, which is, how do we create your personal brand to attract this certain type of person that you're looking for? And of course, one of the things as a matchmaker, you'll hear me say 100 times, you can only ask for certain things that you can offer. Yeah. So if you can't offer it, then...
Wholeheartedly. I really believe that. So when people talk about personal branding, one of the first things they do is they think about like image consulting. Are you dressing in the way? If I'm looking for a husband, I should not be wearing slutty clothing. I should be like a proper wife, right? So people think of that, but it goes so much deeper than that. I think that one thing I've recommended to my clients that's very helpful is to actually make a list of even the top 3 things that you're looking for. So say one of those things is it's a woman who wants a successful man. We all want financial stability, right? So she wants someone who is wealthy, makes money, but she needs to look at her own life. Are her finances an absolute disaster? Does she not know what's in her bank account? Does she not have any sort of budget? That she's not attracting the right person for her. I really believe that like attracts like. Yep. So for something like that, even getting a better relationship with their money and being more responsible and knowing what's coming in and out and trying to, I believe that can help with the energy and space for attracting a man with money.
100%.
And they can do that for everything, whatever their value or belief is, whether it's health or money or even family. You want someone family-oriented, but you're not talking to 3 of your family members. Try the best you could to kind of make peace with those relationships.
Absolutely. And one of the things that Jeremiah and I come across a lot, and he'll tell you the same thing, is something that's important to him as a single man and what he's looking for is a woman who leads a Christian lifestyle. Well, there's a difference between saying you're a Christian and actually living that as a lifestyle.
Yes.
So I totally hear you. It's funny, Rachel, I find myself asking you questions that I know all of these answers to, but it's so great to be reassured with all of the same answers.
Well, we definitely speak the same language. I mean, you've been doing this for a really long time, and you're in a different area than me. Yes. A lot of similarities are there, and we pick up on them as matchmakers.
We do, and it's just really nice. I think it was probably the first time we spoke. I said, my goodness, you are my sister matchmaker. We were supposed to connect.
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to come down to Florida. It's in my area.
And by the way, I don't know if you caught the comment I made on your Facebook post, but we caught a New York girl saying y'all.
That was me. Oh my gosh. I like to see that sometimes. I like to be a little unpredictable.
I think I about fell out of my chair.
Oh my gosh.
You're playing for the audience. Playing for the audience.
I'm actually from here. I'm one of the few locals. I was born and raised here, believe it or not. So, yeah.
Oh. Can we find you a match, or do you have a girlfriend right now?
I'm single. I'm available.
Okay. Please Christian girl. Okay. Cool. Got it.
Yep. Well, moving on, Rachel, talking a little bit more about the branding and how we use that to show people who we are. But also, can we tie that in a little bit with defining who we want to become? What is the way that you explain that to a client, a coaching client?
Well, in a sense, it goes back to what I said about the fake it till you make it before. I think it's a lot about having confidence and realizing that you don't have to be perfect. You actually don't need to be perfect to find love. And you can look around. There's a lot of evidence of that in the world. Even though you're saying, right, that you can be a complete person. Look at all of the people that were like high school sweethearts that had no clue who they were. And sure, a lot of them divorced, but a lot of them do manage to stay together and grow together instead of growing apart.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd recommend all of the similar things I'm sure you probably have heard. Anyone who's into self-growth would probably know about like writing down affirmations and creating a vision board and writing a mission statement and all of that stuff. That is the part where you kind of focus on becoming who you want to become. Mm-hmm. But I think that you have to accept that you're a work in progress. So even if it's something as simple as, you want to clear up your skin more, you want to grow your hair, you want to lose 15 pounds, whatever that is, you're worthy just as you are. You don't need to do that in order to find love, because the right person is going to be okay with a few extra pounds or the fact that, your hair, your face isn't perfect.
And I think those are things that we do for ourselves. Those are things that we do to make ourselves feel happy and that we can do to make ourselves feel more ready and more confident. They're all things that are confidence builders. However, you have to understand that we're all perfectly imperfect, and there's going to be someone out there that's got their own little imperfections. It's a matter of finding someone whose imperfections you can tolerate.
That's right. That's totally right. And so whatever your personal brand is, it's your style. But I think it's great that we're giving people the message that they don't have to be perfect. Even if part of your personal brand is to be like this polished, my New York will come out like this polished, like Hampton's wife or like a Martha Stewart or something. They don't have to be perfect. Martha Stewart went to jail. So I'm always found from your mistakes that you make, and we all have flaws.
I think that's a good point, but I think it's also important that people understand that that's the way they should view other people too. Is that everyone is a work in progress, because a lot of times when people are looking for a partner, they're looking for the total complete package already, and they don't realize that the person's a work in progress, and even that person could contribute to that development. Whether it be influencing or supporting or just stimulating ideas for them. So I think that's a good point as well.
Yes, I think we need to recognize that none of us are perfect, and therefore the person you're attracted to is not going to be perfect either. And so you have to take the good with the bad and accept the flaws. And this is another piece where the getting over the ex kind of comes in. So a lot of us have our exes like on this pedestal up here, and a new person stands no chance. But if we really know our ex, we know that they have a lot of flaws, and we were able to love them and want to be with them despite those flaws. So, a new person coming in, you can be more judgmental and harsh. Like, oh, I wouldn't put up with that. But, think about how after you fell in love with your ex, you did accept those flaws. So, you can accept a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not settle, but accept.
Accept, exactly. And I think one of the frustrations I have as a matchmaker is trying to get people to be more open and non-judgmental, not to judge someone based on a first date, to go out with someone more than 2 or 3 times before they make that judgment call. And I think that in today's society where we have so many options where you can swipe left or right or whatever it is you swipe, they're always looking for something a little bit better, a little bit more perfect. And, it's a matter of, wait a minute, how many people are you dismissing because of that judgment? And if you're not perfect, how can you expect somebody else to be? So really, these are all lessons that when you combine them all together, they're going to lead you into that healthy relationship.
Definitely. I talk about that all the time. I think that's a huge issue today, that people just move on so quickly. The first sign of something that they don't like, they read into it too much. And also as a matchmaker, I tell everyone, when they come back with feedback and they say like, it was very nice or she was very nice, but I just didn't feel chemistry. Like, well, go out with them again. I mean, that's like the most common thing that we hear. Kill me. And I say, I don't care. Like, this goes back to the scripts. Like, why do you think you necessarily have to be hit with fireworks on date number 1? Because some Hollywood movie told you that, or you expect to feel these butterflies? Well, we're not all 16 years old. And we're not feel that right away, but it doesn't mean it's not a perfectly nice, compatible person that you could fall in love with if you just give them a chance. So what I say is, like, if there was nothing wrong with the person, if you cannot find anything wrong that's a deal breaker, and you had a good time and they treated you respectfully, go out again. And sometimes you say, well, I don't want to lead them on. And it's like, you had one date. You're not getting a marriage proposal yet. So it's okay. You're not leading them on. This is all the process of dating. You don't have to know right away. You don't have to know even like when the other person knows. Everyone does not necessarily fall in love at the same time, but it doesn't mean that you can't. So, stop like expecting people to react exactly how you want them to react when you want them to do it. That's not how you fall in love.
No, absolutely not. In fact, falling in love has nothing to do with expectations.
Yeah, kind of like letting go of expectations would be the best advice that I would have.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And taking a risk, right? Like being vulnerable, being okay. Like, I'm the one who might fall in love first, and that's okay. So.
One of the things, Rachel, I want to bring up, and Jeremiah, I'm going to point a few fingers here, but it's something that I see happening a lot, and we were actually talking about this the other night, but how difficult is it for someone to express their intentions when it comes to dating? I think, a lot of the frustration that Jeremiah is seeing in his dating situation is the fact that women are not being completely honest about what it is that they're looking for, their intentions, or how they feel, that he's not getting a good read off of them because they're not giving him that input. So what would you suggest in those situations? And if I'm misphrasing this, Jeremiah, please jump in.
Either that or their expectations are just unrealistic, to be quite honest. I mean, it's either the souped up fairy tale, or I've run into a lot of the dilemma where, and I thought girls grew out of this stage, but apparently not, where they're attracted to the quote bad boy. And so if you can't create that intensity and mystery by being kind of shady and unpredictable, then they're not attractive. Which is not the way I'm a very open book. I express the way I am.
Guys always think this. Is that really true? Guys always think this, that women want the bad boy and they don't like the nice guy.
No, I've actually been told this by certain ones. So I've got good friends that are like, I'm just attracted to a certain type of guy. I'm like, well, what type of guy is that? And then they tell me, and I go, oh, okay, I get it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell those people that what they have is a chemistry pattern, and it's just the way that their brain is wired because they've had that experience before where they fell for someone who probably was not an available, stable, relationship-oriented guy, but rather he was a guy who played games, and, then it becomes the psychological thing where we want what we can't have. And Denise was talking about like women. I guess there were 2 parts to what we were saying. The second part, as you were saying, was the like unrealistic expectations. But the first part was like a woman who is liking someone who is unavailable, right? I hope I'm not losing the meaning of what you were saying, but it sounded like it was more about women not talking about what they intended, what they wanted, almost because they want to have this mystery. And maybe they're addicted to kind of like the thrill of the chase, and that unavailable guy will give them that because he's going to chase after them instead of the nice guy, like call them every day, text them good morning and good night. And you're saying that women don't actually want that, or at least some of them that you encounter.
I would say I wouldn't say that they don't want that. I would just say if it's, I guess, if it's so easily accessible, then they lose interest. If that makes sense, you know.
Yeah, I think I think there's a balancing act here. A woman doesn't want someone who's overeager because then she'll assume that the guy would be like that with anyone, and there's nothing special about her because he's just desperate. They don't want that. They want to be liked for who they are. And I think, like what Denise was saying, the thing that women do at times is they don't directly state their intentions because they've been socialized. We've been socialized to think that we have to be unavailable. We have to follow the rules. We can't sleep with him too soon or he's going to run away. We shouldn't answer the phone all the time.
Right.
We create mystery because that's what the guys want. We've been sort of brainwashed to think that that's guys want. Maybe some guys do want that, but they're often the guys that are the players. They're not the relationship-oriented guys. It's very tricky, but I think it comes to a point where after you're a certain age and you're actually looking for marriage, it's like, okay, I don't want to play these games anymore. I don't have time to play these games. And I just want to cut to the chase, and I want people who are real and are going to communicate and be authentic and share their feelings and what they actually want. So I think women should be more upfront about what they want, and I think men should be too. And the biggest fear is that will scare people away because they won't want the same thing. But to that, I say, great, scare them away because they're not your match. And you get people that are for you, like your personal brand. So if you're too intense because you have the ability to love, then like bye. You know, you'll beat out the people who can't love at the same time.
Yeah, I agree, Rachel, and that's kind of the advice that I've been helping Jeremiah to deal with, is that these are not the women that you want to end up with either which way.
That's right.
Well,
they're not. And it doesn't feel very good to be in a relationship with them because if they're like that from the beginning, you know, people think that we'll all end once you get into a relationship, but someone who's like that will be avoidant. That'll be the woman that you try to cuddle with her and she'll like turn her head and be on the other side of the bed. So that's not what you want if you want to be affectionate, loving.
That's true.
No. Which one of you guys is typing here?
Someone is typing a lot.
I can hear something over there.
I just see, what if I want you? Uh-oh.
Sorry, Goober Ball. That's not what we're here for.
Oh my God.
Wait,
maybe there's more. That's all I see.
Okay. Well, moving on, Rachel. One of the things that I want to discuss, and I think this is a really good segue into it with what we're covering, is how do we turn that casual dating relationship into something a little bit more serious and more committed?
That is a $1 million question. I think it's easy to get a first date, a second date, even a third date. But what happens after maybe like 3 months of dating? That's often a point, or even 6 months of dating. People have, again, these numbers in their heads like, oh, we better be dating now. If I didn't meet his friends in 6 months, if I didn't meet his family in a year, if he's not proposing, he's just not that into me, and blah, blah, blah. So again, it's the ideas. There is a timeline that we have in our head, and I think that we need to abandon that timeline and start to think about what we want and what the person that we're with wants, and are things moving along? Are they progressing? Are we comfortable? Is that the right fit for us? And I think it happens just kind of naturally if both people are invested in each other and they really care about each other, then they want to make it work. So they're seeing each other on a regular basis. They're in communication between dates. And that's what you need. You need an emotional investment. In order to turn something from casual to committed, it can't just feel like, okay, I'm going to invite her out to dinner and a movie because I have nothing else to do. It can't just be a sexual thing. Just because, I mean, women, we need to really know this, and I think we do, but we don't at the same time. Just because a man is sleeping with you does not mean that he's emotionally invested in you. It doesn't mean that he loves you, or vice versa. So we have to realize what is casual and what's committed. You know, just dating, just having sex with someone, those are not signs of commitment. But signs of commitment are a real vulnerability and a sharing and emotional investment and a feeling that you're like a part of someone's life on like a daily or, you know, every couple day, well, I think daily, but, you know, everyone has different degrees of communication. But I think if it's really going to be serious, you need to be hearing from the person frequently, and you need to be thinking of yourself as we, as a unit, instead of as I. So when you get to the point where you start thinking as we, and you start seeing the future, and you start planning things and buying concert tickets for a couple months from now, that's how you know it's going in that direction of serious.
Mm-hmm. And I think the emotional investment is really a good term to use, because what I find is when we get people that walk into our office that are emotionally bankrupt, and we know that it's time to help them build that back up, there's nothing to offer at that point until they feel good about themselves. So being able to make that type of emotional investment into another relationship is really the true goal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Emotionally bankrupt, that's something that I've seen too. I mean, a lot of people that we work with that are divorced, they come in and they're just like, they're burned. A lot of people, they've been financially wiped out. They don't have their kids all the time. I mean, it's very hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very hard.
But being able to make that investment into new relationships, that it is so very important. And there's certain steps that I feel you have to take before you can get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say are the three main things or three main points that you would say as advice for somebody to get to that point, Rachel?
Where they're really ready, like to be able to love, kind of thing. You're asking. Okay, so I think the first thing is that they really do need to be comfortable in their own skin. They cannot hate themselves. So it's a matter of working on themselves and being comfortable with who they are and knowing like what they have to offer, that they bring value to a relationship. And this is harder for some people than others. If they come from a relationship where there was abuse, where they feel emotionally neglected, where they were cheated on, they are going to have to do work. So they might have to go to therapy. They might have to read a lot of self-help books. And there's like no time. It's a work in progress of how long it will actually take. You know, getting to that place of self-love, that would be the first one. The second one would be, I guess, having an idea of what is a healthy relationship. Like what type of relationship would be healthy and happy for them. And then being able to look for that relationship. And then getting over, and the third one would be getting over any love blocks. Anything that is blocking them from being able to find love. And it might not be something physically. It might not be having to do with their ex or anything like that. It might be a limiting belief that they have, that they've carried around with them their whole life. And again, this is where the therapy comes in and working on themselves. This is a work in progress. But if there's something that's holding them back, if they think that they're not worthy of love, or that they have to be perfect to find love, or they're never going to find love in their city and they have to move somewhere else. Well, you know, wherever you go, there you are. Even though I talk about how terrible and difficult it is here, I think that, you know, you could find love anywhere. You have to be in the mindset for it. So third one, getting over those love blocks, getting in the mindset where they're like really ready and they're ready to work on it.
What are some of the limiting beliefs that you feel you hear the most of?
I think they have to do with like the opposite sex at times. Like it could be like kind of what we were talking about before with Jeremiah, like women want bad boys, nice guys finish last, all men are jerks, you know, these sort of slogans, like even the ugly ones too. These are things that we have heard throughout our lives. You know, another thing that can be very damaging that I see with women, especially of this generation, we were told to put our careers first. I'm saying we. These are women that are, I guess, in their 20s and 30s and younger. And it is often at the expense of finding marriage and family, because we think that we have to be independent women and we have to make it and all of this before we can find a man. And it's simply not true. I mean, you could do both. You can't do everything at the same time, but you could have both. And you don't have to prove yourself in order to be loved. And for the guys, a lot of guys do not want to settle down. They think, oh, I shouldn't get married until I have X amount of money in the bank, until I have a house, until I've paid off this debt. But no, like that's not the answer to happiness necessarily. So those are sort of the limiting beliefs are usually things that come from family, that come from religion a lot of times. It could be about sex. It could be that it's a bad thing and they can't enjoy it and it's for procreation only. Or, you know, it could be cultural. There's just so many things that get in the way of our ability to love. And I think we really need to examine how our culture and our family and everything has impacted us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for this. This is like some really good information. And I feel like it reinforces everything I've been saying to our audience because it's so very similar. Can you tell everyone a little bit about your books? And I know I've got links on my site so they can order your books and everything, but can you give them a little preview of what both of them are?
I'll give the clip notes. So the first book I wrote was called A Fab Job, How to Become a Matchmaker. And it was a career guide. So if anyone is wanting to help other people find love, like we do, basically all the steps are there. It tells them how to start a business and everything that they need to know about getting into the industry. So that is actually available like through my website. If they go to rachelrusso.com, there is a link. It says books and they can find it. And then the second book, which you have shared, which may be more relevant here, is called How to Get Over Your Ex, a step-by-step guide to mend a broken heart, Italian-American style. And that book is on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble, Kobo, iTunes, and Book Locker, and a few stores in Brooklyn. And that book obviously is relevant for anyone on this call who wants to move past a breakup and find love again. And of course, you don't have to be Italian American, but you can have an appreciation for the culture. And people say it's really funny. I might be biased. I think it is, but it's entertaining. It's one part self-help and it's one part, you know, appreciation of being Italian. And if you guys like that book, heads up, I am writing a third book, which will be out probably sometime this summer. And that's going to be about how to date Italian-American style. Ooh. So I'm doing a part with that, and it's going to build upon the first book, and it's just going to be really fun. So you can look out for that too on my website. Very nice. And for you, those of you that are joining us from Blab and not my website, I went ahead and shared a link there in the comments. And if you go to my site, there's links to reach Rachel. You can subscribe to Rachel's newsletter. You can purchase her book off of Amazon. You can click on her website. There's all kinds of links over there on how to get in touch with Rachel as well as myself. And there's a couple of other things on the page I just wanted to mention real quick. We are offering, of course, a free 15-minute phone consultation with myself or with Rachel. So there's some links with that, and there's also a few other goodies on there. So if you're watching from Blab, flip over to my site. The link is right there in the comments. And Jeremiah, is there anything you wanted to add while we got Rachel with us before we close out?
No, like I said, love the stuff that she writes. Love her personality and her perception on things. It's great. I'd love to sit down and pick your brain for a while. It'd be interesting. But
thank you. You can take me up on that, or I'll take you up on that, because I really appreciate you guys, and you had great questions. And I always say that sometimes, you know, a guest on a show or something like this can only be as good as the people interviewing them. So entertaining and intelligent hosts here.
I love it. Well, I hope we will get you back with us, Rachel. It's just always, like I said, it's so good for you to be here. I went ahead and put a link to your website in comments. Do you have the Amazon link clear in front of you, or if you want to throw that in there, it will stay.
Okay.
And so that way it'll be there for replays. And, you know, as far as the services that Rachel offers, again, she is a matchmaker in New York. She also does a lot of date coaching and relationship coaching. And you can figure out exactly where her services will fit in by going to her website, which is rachelrusso.com. And I'm going to say thank you all for joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and pause our recording and say goodbye.
All right.